Got a track day coming up in a couple days, and we're just gonna lightly prep the car. It's a street car, Audi S3, and we're just gonna do a few little things like take some weight out of it, which is just basics like the spare tire, rear parcel shelf. We'll take the seat out, and then we'll have a little look at what you need to do kind of maintenance wise just to make sure your car is up for it. So we're gonna take out a few things like the parcel shelf, real easy. This is just extra weight. It does keep the car a bit quieter when it's as a road car, but we want it to be a bit noisy on the track anyway. So we've already taken out the rear panel here. The spare tire is super easy on these, and they're quite heavy. It's a steel wheel on it. You have your jack, all your tools. We're going to bring all this up. I'll leave this in the car for now. We're going to bring it up anyway because it's an hour drive to the track, and I'd hate to get it flat and be stuck there. So easy enough to take out, and we take it out and just leave it in our pit bay at the track. So that just unscrews and it lifts up, and you have the little wire there for the subwoofer. We've already got half the seat out. We'll take this other side out and we'll take the bottom out. So we've already done a video on how to take out the back seat of the Audi or a Golf. Super simple. Once you got it's only really one screw you have to undo, and then the bolt that holds the seatbelt. But it is very, very heavy. Just pop that there. A few other little bits and pieces, you know. It's not much, but it all adds up. So, you know, floor mats, we'll take all the floor mats out. We'll pile them up. We'll go through the center console. You know, if this is your daily driver, you'll usually have a lot of junk. It's just going to be rattling around, falling around. I'm not going to strip the seats. You know, we do have a race seat to go on another time, but for now, we're just going to run the full, basically stock trim, nice and easy. So that'll get quite a bit of weight out. We weighed it all when we did the rear seat removal and talked about how much we can get out, but it's a good, you know, it's over 15 kilos, about 25, 30 pounds once you get the spare and everything. And just little bits too. I mean, all these little trim pieces here, just could, you know, they're barely held in. So the stuff like that can just come off and we'll put it aside later. Going to any track day is to make sure your car is going to be prepared for it. So little things, check the coolant level. Our coolant there is fine. You just want to have a little look at your brake fluid. Highly recommend you put a high temperature brake fluid in. It's not hard to do. Any garage can do it, and it's easy to do yourself. But you just want to, you know, if you have regular brake fluid, tend to boil your brakes after 2 laps. Just little things. Important, a lot of stuff. We'll scrutineering. We'll check your battery to make sure it's secure. So you just want to make sure that's fine. And then you check out a few things. So we'll check the oil, you know, washer coolant, washer spray. Is not a major one, but it's good to have a little bit extra, but at the same time, that's going to be extra weight. We've taken the engine cover off this to keep the temperature a bit down, to get some heat out of it, because it is fairly hot when you're running the track, but you don't have to. You can have your engine cover on, that's no problem. So we're just going to pull the dipstick up, have a little look at it. This car is a little bit warm, so we can check. It's going to be careful not to drip anywhere, and we're gonna have a little, give it a wipe. Wipe it off, and we'll put it back in, and we'll pull it up and check. So Volkswagens, and this engine in Volkswagens and Audis likes to sip a little bit of oil, so I always bring a little extra with us, and then we're gonna have a little look and see where we're at. You can see there, I did this the other day. I just kind of at the top of the little fill bit, where the little indentation. So not overflowing, but definitely on the high side, because it will sip a little bit. So I don't want it too much where it's going to be splashing around and kind of just dragging the bottom of the engine in it. But we do need to have enough oil. Little things like our suspension. This has adjustable KW coilovers. So we've basically got them set up for a good street run. We're going to basically keep it with that, see how it goes. Been out a few times in it already, but just still dialing all that in, because you do have quite a bit of adjustment on it. So I always like to bring a few tools with me. I'll actually usually bring a jack and at least one jack stand, just in case you got to get up and under the car. In my little toolbox, I have a tire pressure gauge, because you need to check your tire pressure all the time. A little pack of cable ties, just a little few things. Those adjustable wrench, just some pliers, paper towel if you need to wipe, and some microfibers you need to, you know, check oil, wipe down the glass. I'll bring usually just one socket with a couple extensions and a few pieces there, and then I'll bring a set of Torx bits and squares, because that's for this car. A lot of those fasteners are the Torx, and then I've got some mechanics gloves, because just even things, sometimes just checking the tire pressure after each session is super hot, so having those on just really keeps your hands in one piece from getting blistered up. And something else I bring, just a little toolkit that came with my KWs. So that is not that I'll be really adjusting ride height out there with the wrench, but that's the adjuster knob for the rebound and dampening, and then a little pin there as well. Now, what else do I bring with me? So because these use a little bit of oil, every few weeks you should always check. I always bring a bit of oil. It's a 540 bottle. I've got big bottles and I just fill this up. So I actually use Enviro Plus 530, but I just keep that in here in a bag, because I have had one leak, and that was really a fun mess. Just to do top ups on the track, or even just if you're driving around and you just check it at the petrol station, you can top it up. For all the cars I've tracked, I usually have 2 sets of wheels for it. So I'll have one set with a nice set of road tires, and then I'll have another set with a set of dedicated track tires. Now, they're just another OEM set of Audi wheels I picked up cheap, and it really saves your tires from getting really chewed out. But at the same time, if you don't do a hell of a lot of Ks, it is easy to get a really high-end road tire that's good for the track at the moment. So we're just going around, and just while it's on the ground, just breaking the nuts, because it's too hard to do when it's in the air and the wheel's turning. And then we'll get the jack, lift the car up, and the car is stiff enough you can just do one side, put it in one spot at a time with the jack, and the whole side of the car will come up, and we'll swap over to our other wheels and just have a little comparison of the tread. Our track tires at the moment we've been running are the Nankang AR1s. They have been value for money. They are pretty tops. They're almost 2 for 1 compared to some of the other ones we've run in the past. And I'm just going through now and rotating through to get the ones with a bit more shoulder on them onto the front. So you can see here, the outside edge of this one here is quite a bit deeper than this one here. So I'll be putting those on the back. The rear tires, less camber we do. And the tire with the most grip, with the most tread, I'm putting on the front left, because our tracks run clockwise, and the front left really takes a hammering. So we've gone through and we've kind of rotated best to worst, and having the 2 better ones in the front and the 2 ones that are a bit more worn in the rear, and the right hand side of the car is getting the ones that are a little bit less than the left. But all in all, these have worn really well. They're not as grippy as the more expensive tires like the Advan 050s, but what you get is it's almost 2 for 1, so you get a lot more days out of it, and it's a decent compound. They're fairly medium, kind of medium to hard, I would say. They're not a soft one, but in the smaller sizes they do vary in compound. So I'm pretty sure that if you have like an MX-5 and you're running 15s and the 15s in these tires, you get it's a softer tire than if you go into the stuff like these 18-inch. These are 225s, and this is now, we had a 7.5-inch rim previously with the stock Golf GTI wheel, but now these Audi factory S3 wheels off a sedan are 8 inches wide. So the 225 is very square, almost a little bit stretched, but not quite. And we can easily run a 235, and the 235 in these actually has quite a wider contact patch than actually the 235 suggests. We just popped the wheel off. We're going to pop on the track tires in a second. Now we're just going to take this time to have a little look at the brakes, to see particularly the brake pads, to see, and we've got lots of material left there. And I had a look on the other side too. There's lots of material there. So always good to do. If you're really low, you might want to think about getting new pads before your track day. but if you bled the brakes, you usually have a chance to check that out anyway. So pretty handy. Now we're just gonna pop these on. So we do have a 2-piece DBA rotors on this. When we needed new rotors, we just lashed out a bit and saved a lot of weight. One of the most important things when you go to a track day is tire pressure. So your tires are gonna heat up, the air is gonna expand, and the pressure is gonna go up, and they're gonna go way up. Now, what happens when they go up? You lose grip. So it makes that, if you think about having a flat tire, the tire is squashed flat on the ground. Having it flat on the ground, you got a massive contact patch. As you add more and more pressure, that tire gets more and more round until your contact patch becomes very small and they get quite slidey. Now it's pretty handy that you can use that to actually tune the way your car handles it to an extent as well. But we're gonna just check these now because they've been sitting for a couple weeks. So we're just under 40 PSI, which is fine because we do have an hour drive to get to the track. So these tires I've been running at about 34 PSI. A friend with a Ford Focus RS has the same, and he likes them around 40. So we're actually going to give them a go at around 40 and see how we go dropping. So after your first session, come in straight away and don't chat with the boys. Get on the tire gauge and check your pressures. Your fronts will obviously get a lot hotter than your rears. And if someone's got a pyrometer to shoot at it, you can see the even temperature across the tread. But for the most part, you know you're at the right temperature, at the right pressure when they stop getting more pressure. So if you found that they're 40, you go out, do a session, come back, it's 45 or 50, drop it back to 40, goes up to about 45, 50. You can keep dropping it until it levels off. And then when you go home, don't forget to make a stop on the way home and fill them up, because a little bit of road driving on the way home after grabbing a late lunch, you'll find that your tire pressure will be way down. So, sometimes down to like 20 PSI. So you would definitely want to put some air in on the way home. Let's talk safety gear. So every track day you're going to do, there's going to be some safety requirements. Pretty much a given is that you're going to need a helmet. You don't need the fanciest, you just need to have something that's usually motorcycle rated. So even a cheap scooter helmet like an open face, usually they're good enough to pass. Personally, I've got a closed face helmet, and I've also wear a hands device. So that uses the 5-point harness and keeps my head attached to my body in case of a crash. We're also probably going to need long clothing. So you're going to need long sleeves and long pants. Just a long sleeve t-shirt's usually cool, nice and comfortable to wear. And then if you want to wear something like a suit over top, go for it. But just a long sleeve t-shirt is usually all you need, and long pants. Pants, I usually just personally try to wear something that's light and comfortable. Jeans tend to be a bit heavy and a bit restrictive just getting in and out of the car. Shoes, so that's something else that you want to look at, just so you can really feel the pedals a lot better. Something thin-soled. There are specific driving shoes, but even just something like a pair of Converse or a pair of Vans that just have a thinner sole is good. Wearing something thick and heavy like a Nike Air Force One or a big chunky Air Max, usually not the best for pedal feel, but yeah, try to stick with something nice and thin soled. And bring a chair. I usually bring a lawn chair with me just because there's going to be times you're going to sit down and chill out, and it's a long day on your feet if you don't have anywhere to sit.